Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's left on second and change.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Almost Pro Championship. We've had a week off, of course. We had the chaos that ensued a couple of weeks ago at Spa. We continue our voyage around the world, of course, for the second half of Season 6. Tonight, we take, as you can see, to the Netherlands, and of course, that takes us to the circuit Zandvoort, one that has recently rejoined the Formula 1 World Championship calendar, and one that I'm sure will impress with its twists, its turns, its high-speed nature, of course, all the way around, and a huge dependency on strategy. My name is Zach Sweeney. You're watching live on the JPBroadcasting YouTube channel. And, of course, finally, I know, I'm magic. Cheers to Joshua Griffin-Meek, by the way, for getting us onto the APC League Twitch channel as well. So thank you to everyone that's watching from wherever you are around the world. Do let me know, in each of the respective chats and things. And I am raring to get ourselves involved for this round. Should be some thrills, maybe some spills as well along the way. Just getting ourselves set up into the session, and then we will see what's going on. In fact, actually, let's head our way. That we are going to be going straight into some of the live action. There we go, beautiful. Into the qualifying session, 18 minutes, of course, and you can see there is a little bit of rain while these guys are getting themselves out on circuit, though. Let's have a quick little nosy. Boom! Drivers' Championship. You can see Lewis Smith still leading the way quite comfortably, actually, over Ethan Shackleton, who, of course, took that week off in Silverstone, so he's dropped back a couple of points, but still firmly in the championship run. A good result for Carl Stewart Woodard last week at Spa as well. Sees him in P3, just 2 points, I should say, ahead of Jordi Lansing in 4th. Drew Bliss, the other Aston Martin, of course, both the Aston Martins really working well together over the last couple of weeks. They're in 5th. Then, of course, you've got Thijs Moosbergen, Adam Watson, Oliver Milner, Andrea Chenkovan as well, after a superb debut victory a couple of weeks ago at Silverstone, continuing to impress as well at Spa. And then the brother of the Aston Martin driver, Carl Stewart Woodard, there, of Connor, in P10, rounding it out. Onto the teams as well. Very, very close in the competition when it comes to Aston Martin versus Mercedes versus Red Bull versus Ferrari. 4 teams in with a shout of the championship here today. And let's see who's going to be the one to come out on top. 152 to 144, 136 and 132. So 20 points separating 4 teams in this championship. AlphaTauri as well, rounding out the top 5 of the constructors. You can see the rest of them: Alpine, Alfa Romeo, Haas, Williams, none of whom have scored some points. However, have got some good news in regards to, we have managed to fill out both Haas and Williams with a driver lineup. They won't be joining us here today, but they will be joining us over the course of next week and into the season beyond. So let's get ourselves into the lovely qualifying session. You will have to excuse the pause there. I just want to adjust the logo a little bit. That'll do. That'll be fine. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. So yeah, they won't be joining us today, but they will be joining us over the course of the next couple of weeks. Let's have a look as to how things are getting on, though, out on circuit. It is wet, but it's not wet enough to warrant going onto the inters. And while they can, of course, there is 18 minutes of the session. While these drivers are able to put a lap on slicks, they are going to want to, because as soon as that crossover period happens, as soon as more rain gets put down, the track's going to get slower and slower and slower as the session progresses. Sort of on the contrary to what you would usually see in a qualifying session, where it gets quicker and quicker. When the track is changing, you need to put a lap time down as soon as possible. You can see we have got Drew going up to the provisional pole position time of a 12.8. Ties Mosbergen as well, very tentative on his lap, but they need to be. They need to put a lap time down. Doesn't need to be the lap time. Like I always say, just needs to be a lap. Right? It can just be that. Something to put the marker down, something that you have as a foothold for the rest of the session, particularly when it is raining, particularly when it could, well, continue to get worse. But Drew Bliss, of course, looking very, very strong in the championship. I think P5, as we just saw, he's out there putting some lap times down and, in fact, going for consecutive runs as well. Again, when it comes to the wet weather, when it comes to changeable conditions, it's all about rhythm. It's all about settling in. Yes, the track is changing from corner to corner and lap by lap, but you need to get into a rhythm, find the grip, build on that confidence, and maybe go a little bit quicker over the rest of the session. However, I think over the last lap the rain has firmly picked up in its intensity, and the track has very much gone past the usability of the slicks. I think we are going to be on that crossover on to intermediate. Barjan Vortex, of course, better known as Carl Stuart Woodard, there in 6th. He's managed to put lap time down 1:15.4. Very marginal stuff between himself and, of course, Krypton World in the McLaren, better known as Connor Stuart Woodard. So a battle of the brothers on the 3rd row of the field. Let's see what championship leader Lewis Smith can do as well on his run to the line. It's only 8th, understandably, as the softs and the slicks themselves not working as best as they could. Essentially, the rain, the standing water, builds a layer on the circuit. So you've got effectively tarmac and then rain. And then, of course, the slicks, the rubber, is designed to grip to tarmac. It's not designed to grip to rain, if that's even possible. So with that layer on top of it, it's harder for the slicks to grip the road, grip the tarmac, and oftentimes you will see a lot of understeer and oversteer on the rear end, which is why they swap to the intermediate, the wet tyres, closer to what you'd see obviously on your normal road car with the tread, with the grooves. They're designed to displace the water, to get rid of that standing water, that extra layer between the tarmac and the tyre of the standing water. Get rid of that so the grippy part of the tyre can actually touch that tarmac and give you some grip. It won't be optimal, but it will be better than a completely flat, smooth, slick tyre as you see in dry running. It's all about treating yourself to the conditions. However, with the lap times coming, increasing as the session goes on, with the rain getting worse, it's unlikely, in fact, I'm going to say it's impossible, that we're going to see any improvements for the rest of this session. That was essentially it. One lap in qualifying. And like I say, that is it. That is all you can afford, because that is all the session allowed. You had to get out there, you had to be quick, and you had to put the marker down as soon as possible, because otherwise you're going to lose out, as has been proven. That pressure is then on, because you know that, contrary to a normal session where you've got your banker, then you push a lap, then your all-out lap, you only have one lap. You've got to get up to speed with the conditions that are changing. You have to then put down a decent lap, because it will decide your grid slot for the 36 laps of racing that we have got here today at Zandvoort. You can see Drew Bliss heading out there on to some intermediate tyres. I think that's more a case of just maybe acclimatizing himself to some wet weather running. Maybe it's going to be wet heading into the race. I don't know. Of course, the drivers will know. They'll have a predicted forecast in their driver interface in the pit lane. And of course, they will be able to see what the percentage chance of rain is. So maybe Drew Bliss is heading out there to get a feel of his setup under wet conditions, get a feel of how the car reacts under these wet conditions, because it might well be invaluable experience that he's then able to use throughout the rest of the race and of course the sessions here today, just help him build consistency. Maybe he's out there just to keep himself fresh, make the most of the time he's got. Effectively, this next 10 minutes is a free practice session. You're not going to be improving on your lap times, you're not going to be finding more speed, but you can refine your craft, learn some lines, push in the wet a little bit more, find that limit, so much so that if it is wet on lap 1, you immediately know how to get yourself up to speed. You have an idea of what the conditions are going to be feeling like, and you can then best put yourself forward, particularly for Drew Bliss and someone in his scenario, because he's on pole. And the expectation from pole position is that you go and win. I don't think I've ever heard a driver start from pole and go, I don't want to win. That's not an aim. Pole's nice, I don't want to win. You set pole position, you are the quickest driver in qualifying. Your expectation, your hope, your ambition is to then convert that into a race win the next day, particularly in equal performance cars. Yeah, it's a little bit different if a Williams in real life suddenly puts it on pole position or whatever. Yeah, that's a bit unrealistic, but Drew Bliss is firmly within his right and capability of going for a race win. Of course, 4 tenths quicker than Jordi Lansing in qualifying. And yeah, 4.5 seconds slower than his slick time. That is the difference, and that is a near eternity when it comes to the when it comes to motorsport generally. 4.5 seconds is a huge amount of time, and ones that you cannot waste. 8 minutes and 37 seconds left of the qualifying session, albeit now just turned itself into effectively a free practice session as such, as drivers will be out there. And that's the question as well that I was going to touch on when it comes to setup. What do you focus on? Of course, coming into this, they knew it was going to be wet. Do they bolt on sort of that dry setup for that one slick that they're going to get and try and maximize that? Or do they play it safe, go for a wet setup in order to maximize this qualifying session? But then also that begs the question, what is the rain going to be like in the race? What is the weather going to be like in 10 minutes time or so when we transition into the race session? What is it going to be like then? Have they selected a dry setup on a wet track in order to maximize the race? Is it going to be a wet session across both? And are we going to see rain in 2 races in a row? Jordi Lansing, I suppose, in a Red Bull, and on home turf, of course, himself and Thijs Mosberg and the 2 Flying Dutchmen fielding in the Oracle Red Bull racing machine. They're going to be here looking for a good result, of course, as I say, on home turf. Let's take a tour then around Zandvoort. He's running his way through turn 4 now, of course, newly banked surface. Interesting that he took a lower line there as opposed to running it around the outside of the banking. But I suppose that is the typical racing line. That's where most of the rubber is going to be laid down, and that is actually where it's going to be more slippery. So maybe the inside line is the one that works best there. You run your way to the end of sector, well, towards the end of sector 2 actually. This is about halfway through the middle sector. And then into turn 11, again, it's just about trying to minimize that rotation and reduce the stress on those front tires, because they aren't going to be able to do much over the course of a wet race, because, as I say, the water is in the way. It's slippery. It's like trying to rub your hands over when you've got, you know, oil on them or something like that, and it's just slipping and sliding all over the place. Or trying to run on ice or whatever. You just cannot find that grip. So it does get slippery. And you need to be able to find different ways of rotating the car, manipulating the body weight, manipulating the ballast, using the brakes to rotate the car a little bit, just to minimize how much steering input you are putting in. Otherwise, you run the risk of actually the more lock you put on, the less steering you do, because the front tires are just over and overwhelmed, and you just end up pushing on so much. It's advice that a good friend of mine, Jack Tritton, always used to give me in karting. And oh my goodness me, Thijs Mosberg, and that is not a way to end qualifying at your home event. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter anyway. It wasn't like he was going quicker. I mean, he was on a fresh set of softs, and definitely proving as to why you don't do that in a wet qualifying session. Of course, he's going to be hoping for more come the actual race. I would not doubt it. Of course, 4th place. He's showcased some brilliant displays of racing, albeit questionable strategy a couple of weeks ago at Silverstone. But looking strong nonetheless. You will just have to let me know, by the way, on a real note, if things suck, if audio is bad, if the game is too low, let me know live, in Twitch chat, in YouTube chat, whatever. I'm keeping an eye on both. Let me know what's going on. So I can sort of just adjust it basically as soon as possible, because audio mixing and things has been something that has cropped up a couple of times over the last couple of weeks, and I just want to make sure that everything's refined live, so I can have the settings basically. I can know the rough area. If I'm too loud compared to the cars, or the cars are too loud compared to me, let me know as soon as possible. As I say, so I can adjust, sort it out, and give you guys the best show possible. Because that's what I'm here for, basically. That's what James is paying me to do, is to come here and try and entertain you lot for about an hour and a half or so while we run our way through these sessions. I like to think I do a decent job of that. Let me know, of course, if you're watching along, your thoughts, feelings, queries, questions, anything really that's able to sort of tickle your fancy. I would very much love to hear what you're feeling, who you're rooting for, where you're watching from, what your thoughts are going into this race, favourite forms of motorsport, anything really, fire it at me. I'm all by myself here in the commentary booth, all lonely. So by all means, give me a shout. And particularly while we aren't seeing much on-track action, because there isn't much. Drivers feel safer in the pit lane. Drivers don't really want to go out and push the limits in qualifying, which is fair enough, because there's nothing to go and get. It'd be nice to have a chat, interact with you lot, and welcome you into the community, because that's what this is. And speaking of community, by the way, the APC, the Almost Pro Championship, they are looking for recruitment. They are looking for drivers. So if you think you've got what it takes to get yourself onto the grid, get involved, get yourself signed up to the Discord, or join the Discord, get yourself signed up. We could well see you on the grid over the course of the next couple of weeks. We have got a huge stack of talent. We've got a huge lineup in terms of the calendar as well. I mean, just looking at some of the next races. Of course, we're on race 9. In a week's time, we'll head to Singapore. The week after that is Kota, Mexico for round 11, before we then head to Interlagos for race 12. Qatar for race 13, and then the United Arab Emirates, better known as Abu Dhabi, where we head to race 14 and the season finale of season 6. So you've got a few weeks to get yourself involved. Give it a think over, get yourself on the grid, because as you can see, we've got 9 cars here. We will hopefully be up to 13 next week, and maybe your name will be the one taking to the top step. Maybe you'll be the one I get all excited about when you join the grid and smash it on a debut pole and win, like we saw Andrea Chenkovan do, of course, the driver at the moment sat in P3 in the Ferrari. Maybe you could go and replicate that success. Who knows, unless you get yourself involved. So please do go out there, join yourself in, and join us here at the APC. And, of course, on JPBroadcasting. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn the bell on for notifications. We do pretty much everything when it comes to sim racing. As you can see, Formula 1, other single-seaters, Formula 4, Formula 3, Super Formulas. On the world of iRacing, R-Factor 2, we do ACC as well, GT3 racing, NASCARs. Whatever tickles your fancy, we have got it here. So make sure you are staying tuned. Make sure you're following the Almost Pro Championship League on Twitch as well, so you can stay up to date with this championship, how we're doing, of course, and how exciting the racing is going to be over the next few weeks. I am absolutely looking forward to it. Cannot wait to see how the rest of the season goes. I mean, the last couple of weeks that I've done, of course, we did Silverstone and Spa before the week off. I enjoyed both of them thoroughly. Fantastic races. Couple of, low points, but that's expected with any race. The starts, the finishes, even the midpoints at some points as well were absolutely sensational. How close the field were with the changeable conditions, strategies, all of that things can really spice it up in a race. And these guys do deliver with how close they are. So stay tuned, get yourself some popcorn, get a cup of tea. I've got one right next to me as well. Or your favourite beverage. Let me know what that is as well. Let me know how you're feeling. Do you like a coffee? Are you a milk, no milk, oat milk, almond milk, goat milk, whatever in your coffee? I don't know. What sort of race snacks do you prepare? Haribo's? Do you go for more savoury stuff? Crisps, tortilla chips, sour cream and chive dip, whatever? Let me know with how you're doing. Maybe that's something I could ask Rob Huff. I'm talking to him this weekend at Donington Historic as part of the Q&A panel that I'm doing. I'm talking to Rob Huff on the Saturday, and then a couple of the people involved in the Speed 8 Bentley project on the Sunday. Maybe I should ask them, when you're watching a race, what snacks do you do? Or maybe I should stick to the conventional stuff. Who knows? We'll find out. If you are there at Donington, by the way, do come say hello, come watch along. I haven't been given the times as of yet, but I'm sure they'll be posted somewhere as to when I'm needed. 15 seconds left on the qualifying timer. And then 36 laps of racing beyond that. Of course, qualifying is over. The checker flag is flying. All the drivers bar Ethan Shackleton have crossed the line. He's out there on just a set of intermediates, I think. Again, just bedding himself into the circuit more than anything. Hopefully it's valuable experience. Let's see what the weather's going to be like as well. As I say, transitioning into the race. Whether it is going to stay wet, whether it's going to be completely dry, who knows? With Zandvoort, I mean, the Netherlands, it's, yeah, I suppose quite changeable. I've never been. I'd like to. I'd love to go to the Netherlands. But when it comes to changeable conditions, at least in my experience on F1 games and things, it is quite topsy-turvy with what it wants to be doing. Across the line. Qualifying has drawn itself to a close. Let's run you through the grid order then. Drew Bliss with a sensational early lap time in the session puts it on pole position. Jordi Lansing on home soil will join him on row 2 ahead of the Croatian of Andrea Chenkovan, ahead of course of another home hero of Thijs Moosbergen on row 2. Ethan Shackleton on his pursuit for the championship there in 5th. And the two men from Barbados, of course the Woodards of Krypton Wild and Barjan Vortex, better known as Connor and Kyle in 6 and 7. Championship leader Lewis Smith was unable to put a lap time in early doors. That is going to be a big talking point as he tries to progress forwards this race. His Mercedes teammate, of course, of Oliver Milner, is there in 9th and final space. Unfortunately unable to put a lap time in over the duration of qualifying. That is the grid. 9 cars strong. Hopefully we're in for an absolute belter of a race for round 8 of season 6 of the Almost Pro Championship. Again, my name is Zach Sweeney. In fact, while we're transitioning, let's have a quick reminder as to how things are racking up in the Drivers' Championship. And it is raining, by the way, as you can see in the background. It is wet, so that experience in qualifying definitely was valuable. But as you can see, Lewis Smith, better known as of course, the driver known as Speedy Dude as his gamer tag. He sits a good 22 points clear of Ethan Shackleton, who himself is about 11 clear of Carl Stewart-Woodard. Jordi Lansing just 2 back Drew Bliss, the top 5, although on pole position, maybe some ground to be made up in the race. Thijs Moosbergen, Adam Watson, Oliver Milner, Andrea Chenkovan, who has only been here for 2 rounds but is on 37 points. Remarkable stuff ahead of Connor Stewart-Woodard as well. Of course, better known again as Krypton World, as you'll recognise him on the timing tower. So there they are, that's how they stand. Hopefully, the championship is going to be left wide open all the way to race 14 at Abu Dhabi. Just waiting for everyone to sort of finalise their strategy, the fuel loads, any minor adjustments they may want to make with the setup. Again, they put a setup on in qualifying. Maybe as they went out on those inters, they realised they need a couple more clicks on the front wing. I think they can change a couple of other things. Brake bias and I think open diff as well when you're sort of on throttle can be changed. The different wheel speeds and how the car will rotate the different speeds differently. Because of course, as you turn left, the right-hand side has a longer distance to travel and will therefore need to spin quicker to keep up with that inside wheel. So you want an open diff to maximise rotation at some points, just to keep that minimum speed up. So maybe again they want to make some adjustments with their differential. And yeah, who knows? Maybe they're just confident. Maybe they're just adjusting their fuel loads, adjusting their strategies, seeing what's going to happen. But right now it is firmly wet. That is my diagnosis, or my what was it? My meteorological professional decision. I don't know. Diagnosis, is that a word? Prognosis? I don't know. I need to read a dictionary probably. I did get a good grade in my English GCSE. Got 7 and an 8 in language and literature. Somehow, I don't know. It's honestly embarrassing. I'll be with Dareth Thacker, who's another commentator as part of JPB. I'm sure at some point he might come and do the APC as well. He does show me up with some big words, and I often find myself when I'm listening to him just going on Google and having to very quickly type in the word that he come up with as to actually understand as to what he meant. And the other word, it was fallible, and I didn't know what that meant. And then he explained it to me, and obviously it made sense, and I kind of made sense of it in the context as well. But obviously, didn't want to embarrass myself by assuming, so I thought I'd ask. So anyone want to shoot some cool words at me that I can use, by all means, do so. I'd love the YouTube chat thesaurus that I'm sure you all are. But going into this race, by the way, we have got a race. We have got something to focus on. They are going themselves on to the formation lap. And let's get all of our snazzy information up, of course, before we get ourselves immersed into the action. Of course, Drew Bliss, Jordi Lansing, Andrea Chinkovan, Thijs Mosberg in the top 2 rows. 36 laps of racing. What sort of strategies are we going to see? Let's have a look in regards to Thijs. They are all in inters, and goodness me, that's not one way to start the race. It hasn't even started for Drew Bliss, who is not going to be filled with confidence going into turn 4 on lap 1. Cold tyres, maybe, bit of nerves as well, but thankfully damage not on for the duration of the formation lap. That is poor driving, I have to say. Apologies, Drew, but yeah, that's not looking good, mate. Hopefully you can sort it out on the way to the grid. Maybe he's just trying to get some extra slides in, fill his enemies with confidence, maybe false confidence, lead them into that false sense of security where they think they've got the upper hand, and then he's just going to drive away. That, or it's just a skill issue. Take it as what you will. I don't know. I can try and hype it up as what you like, but it probably just was a skill issue. Simple as that. But yes, Drew Bliss, Jordi Lansing, Chinkovan, Thijs Mosbergen. All 4 of them, I think, have the capacity to go and win this race. Question is, only one of them can. Who is it going to be? Who's going to be the one to conquer Zandvoort? Of course, with changeable conditions, is the rain going to get worse? Is it going to get better? How are they going to react with how the race develops, the track develops, the tyres grip at different points, that crossover point between both inters and slicks or inters and wets, whatever the decision might well be. Who's going to rise to the occasion? Of course, Speedy Doo, don't forget Lewis Smith, championship leader, down in P8. Was unable really to put in a competitive qualifying lap and is taking his time on the way to the grid. As to leave Drew Bliss there stranded. Some ever coldening tyres. Coldening? That's a word. Cooling, that's the word. Tyres. Station, I told you, I'm not good with words. Although I do get paid to speak. It's remarkable. Anyway, championship on the line. The second half of Season 6 starts right here on Dutch soil. Drew Bliss and Jordi Lansing, the front row, the home hero, as we get up and underway here in Zandvoort. Good start from the front row, it must be said, from Drew Bliss. Side by side in the background as well. I think that is Thijs Mosbergen versus Ethan Shackleton as the man P2 in the championship tries to go the long way round of the home hero. That's not quite going to work out for him. I think actually he might be having a look as Thijs Mosbergen looks to the inside of Chenkovan through turn number 3. He's going to go to the outside of turn number 4. Not quite close enough, and that is going to open the door for Shackleton to pull his way alongside. Has he got the drive off the corner as they run their way through up through the sweepers? Of course, it's going to be bold and brave to be able to hang it the long way around, but I think Thijs Mosbergen has been able to do exactly that. Beautiful stuff as they exit the first sector and into the second on the opening lap. Drew Bliss is able to maintain that pole position. Jordi Lansing just in behind, so beautiful stuff, beautiful racing already seen as now they begin the settling in phase, finding that groove, finding that rhythm, finding that consistency, searching for the grip as best they can. And of course, as you settle in, you find where you can overtake, but it is so difficult in the rain because you're moving water off the racing line, and therefore the racing line is getting grippier and grippier. So anytime you go for an overtake, i.e. off the racing line, it's so much more tricky to get that move done because you lose so much more grip going offline. You almost have to bait the other driver to go defensive so you can have the grippier line sometimes. It's so tricky, and the decision-making is remarkable. Drew Bliss then leads lap number 1. Andrea Chenkovan searching on the back of Lansing to find his way up in a second place. But again, no way through for now. Ethan Shackleton as well on the back of Thijs Mosbergen. This is a perfect opportunity with Lewis Smith, I think, disconnecting actually on the formation lap, only able to get back into the session after the start of the race. He's still there in P9. The wet weather not proving to be to the Mercedes' liking, and this is a golden opportunity for other drivers to capitalise on that, score some good points, and close that 22-point gap in the championship. And for Ethan Shackleton, he's the one 22 points down. He wants to be ideally winning this race, is to gain, well, I think that would be that 23 is the gap between P9 and P1, 25 to 2 respectively for P1 and P9 finishing positions in terms of points. So Ethan Shackleton, if he's able to win this race, that is a decent chunk of points he's able to score. Lewis Smith is through on Connor Stewart-Woodard and up into 8th place. So let's see what his progress is going to be. How quickly can he close in to Oliver Milner? Of course, his Mercedes teammate up in front. An early lead being established though by Drew Bliss, as you can see. He's in the Aston Martin. Our race leader going to set another fastest lap of the race, 22.193. And building out just over a second. Of course, no DRS in these conditions, understandably so. You don't want the cars going any quicker. They rely on that rear wing to slow themselves down, the natural sail that it is pushing them backwards. And if that's open in the wet, well, good luck stopping for the corner essentially, mate. So Drew Bliss, well, yes, is out of DRS range. It doesn't matter, but he is extending the gap more and more lap by lap to now 1.8 seconds. Jordi Lansing not really got much of an answer for it. A three-way battle, a Red Bull sandwich with Ferrari bread either side. Andrea Chenkovan, Thijs Mosbergen, Ethan Shackleton nose to tail, fighting for the final place on the podium. All of these drivers want points in the championship. That's why they're here. They want to succeed. And this is a golden opportunity to go and get them. 2.3 is the gap now, actually, by the way, between Lewis Smith and Oliver Milner, P7 and P8. Defensive momentarily, I thought, at the very least for a second, as Jordi Lansing has now been backed up into the clutches of Andrea Chenkovan. Of course, that gap this time a lap ago was about a second and a bit. Now being able to close to just under 3.5 tenths. Maybe we could well see the Ferrari. I think he is on the button. You can see with the overtake, is going to pull out to the right-hand side. He's going to defend. The Red Bull brings it back over. Which way is the Ferrari of Chenkovan going to go? He's going to commit to the outside. I think maybe trying to back the Ferrari up into his teammate of Thijs Mosbergen potentially. That's the fight for third, and squeezing them in, getting the walls tighter and tighter, as actually a huge mistake there from Jordi Lansing on home soil. The Ferrari tries to go the long way round. The space opens up and through the middle nearly. Thijs Mosbergen to make it a 2-3 for Red Bull and a 2-3 for the Flying Dutchman. Ethan Shackleton is through as well. Poor positioning on the form of Andrea Chenkovan. He's going to be fuming with the fact that he's tumbled from a potential second place down to fifth at a moment's notice. Shackleton as well contending with Thijs Mosbergen into turn number 9. Not quite close enough. A huge twitch as well from Jordi Lansing as he desperately tries to hang on to second place. Huge send into turn 11 as well from Ethan Shackleton. It's all kicking off here in this fight for the podium place. The runner-up in the championship at the moment, Shackleton pulls alongside the Red Bull. Who's going to be the one to come out on top by the time they reach the chicane of 12 and 13? Outside line for the Ferrari becomes the inside, and he's done it. Beautiful stuff from the number 7 machine, up in a third place, and now it's another Ferrari sandwich, this time with Ethan Shackleton as the filling. How effectively is he going to be able to get after Jordi Lansing? And it's deja vu from the lap previous. He's on the button. He's trying to contend for second place. Is he going to be able to take up another position inside for the Red Bull, outside for the Ferrari? He brakes later. Has he got the agility to go the long way round? Not enough rotation. However, the car bites back. Maybe got the exit as he tries to contend through the left of 2 into 3. The up and under, though, is there. He tries to go to the outside of turn number 4. He might well learn from his teammate's mistake, and does. In fact, gets the drive off of turn 4, finds himself through in a second place. Sensationally done from Ethan Shackleton, and that is how you contend with a pack. That is how you contend with a train. He's worked his way forward, defended the counter-attack from Jordi Lansing as well, and is through into second. Bit of a contention there actually back here between Carl Stewart-Woodard and Oliver Milner. This is the fight for 6th place that Lewis Smith brought right onto the back of it. Did see some polystyrene bollards being kicked up in the background. And that's wide from Carl Stewart-Woodard, of course, was looking quite good 2 weeks ago at Spa, but has just been completely mugged by Lewis Smith up in a 7th place as he continues his quest towards 6th and beyond, of course. 6.6 now is the gap to Drew Bliss leading the way. He's very comfortable up in front. Just trying to continue to sort of extend that gap more and more as the race develops. Let's see, Ethan Shackleton looks to be on a good lap time, 22.5. You know, not bad, but I don't quite think to the same caliber as Drew Bliss. Also trying to keep our eye on the weather situation as well, because compared to the start of the race, it does look like it's been sort of letting up a little bit. And of course, it is going to take a while for both the rain to stop and then the cars themselves to then clear the standing water and get them back onto slicks. It will take some time, but maybe that is the trajectory that this race is heading, and maybe could set the course for the next maybe contender for the win. I mean, at the moment, Drew Bliss looks, as I say, very comfortable out in front. But if it switches to dries and he gets the strategy wrong, or even switches to wets and it gets worse, and he gets the strategy wrong, that crossover of inters to wets can just be sort of almost as fatal as that sort of crossover from slicks to inters. And you time it wrong, 6.6 seconds. It's not a lot. And it's easy to fall into that trap of almost hubris and thinking that you're safe at the top, getting complacent with your power, all for it to come crumbling down, as was the case for sort of Ramesses II, the sort of Egyptian king, as a swap for the places of Thijs Mosberg and Jordi Lansing. A small mistake from Jordi again, and his teammate pinches that position off him and says, "Thank you very much, mate." Of course, both of them childhood friends, and not really much contention between the pair of them. Happy to maximise the result for the team because, of course, they are very, very close in that fight with Mercedes and Aston Martin. Quick reminder of the standings. There's a huge look to the inside of Andrea Chenkovan as the Ferrari tries to pick his way through in a 5th place. That move gets slammed in the face of the Croatian as Jordi Lansing is through and able to stay in front for now. But yeah, when it comes to teamwork, Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston Martin, they're all battling for the top step. All of them have got a double lineup this weekend, all of them within the top 8. Then, of course, you've got the low McLaren of Connor Stewart-Woodard. But between all 4 teams, the top 4 in the championship, it's all about that team result, maximising what they can do at the moment. Of course, the 2 Aston Martins are having a tale of 2 halves, with one of them leading the way, one of them down in 8th place. Ferrari and Red Bull having some really consistent running, both 2 and 5 and 3 and 4. So again, securing some very decent points. I think that's going to be 28 points going the way of Ferrari as things stand, with 18 and 10, and then of course with 15 and 12 going to 27 points to Red Bull. So getting rewarded for that 2nd place is Ethan Shackleton. That extra point could go a long, long way come the season's end of this championship. We are on lap 8 of 36. That translates itself into 1/4.5 of the race complete, or 10/45 of the race complete, which is just off a quarter. Basically, in a lap's time, we'll be done with the first quarter of the race. We'll be moving on to the next 35. Well, I was about to say 35, but I was going to say 3/4 and 75% at the same time. Okay, I knew what I was getting at. I was just combining the conversions. Basically, I'm not stupid, I promise. Maybe I am, who knows. I am a commentator after all. But yes, 3/4 of the race, or 75% at the moment. Drew Bliss completes lap number 9, which he's about to start right now. Thijs Mosberg and Jordi Lansing working together quite nicely, actually, but Ethan Shackleton putting in some impressive pace, 1:21.3. Closing in, chipping away bit by bit at that gap as the 2 Mercedes swap places. Oliver Milner allowing his teammate of Lewis Smith through as he's right on the back of Andrea Chenkovan for 5th place. The Ferrari driver unfortunately falling off ever since that small mistake at turn 4 in contention with the 2 Red Bulls. Of course, his teammate of Ethan Shackleton as well. But the competition firmly is there. Into turn 10. A quarter of the race has been complete, with Drew Bliss, of course, still leading the way. But for how much longer is Ethan Shackleton, as I say, is showcasing some really impressive pace. Lewis Smith as well. That's the battle with Thijs Mosbergen, Chenkovan, Smith, and Milne. They're in the mix. There's also Woodard, and then the other one, the one that's 25 seconds off the back of the rest of the pack, but he's still out there putting in the lap times and will still be rewarded with 2 points come at the race end. Of course, if he is to go and finish it. I have just been gotten word, actually, by the way, that the same Dareth Thacker that I was speaking about, actually, we'll get back to that in just a second. A bit of a look from Lewis Smith. A bit of history going on. Of course, I was talking about Dareth Thacker a little bit earlier on in regards to him showing me up when it comes to big words. He knows Ethan Shackleton from a bit of a league called FFR back in the day. I think Jordi Lansing apparently was also a part of that championship. So just goes to show that there is history between the drivers. And when we say that they build relationships and they get to know each other, their driving styles, how they race against each other, we really do mean it. A lot of these drivers travel from championship to championship, both at the amateur level, the community level, the semi-pro level, and even at the top level. They travel from championship to championship together, get to know each other, follow themselves through, and are consistent rivalries. That is what obviously Ethan Shackleton, potentially Jordi Lansing, were doing. By the way, Lewis Smith just able to pick his way past Andrea Chenkovan. That's the fight for 5th place, and Lewis Smith up now into 5th, securing 10 championship points. Only, as things stand, will be losing 9 to Ethan Shackleton, who of course has got P2 and has got the fastest lap as well. Oh, there's a spin. Oh my goodness me. Carl Stuart Woodard, you are not getting away with that one, son. Front wing is gone. The embarrassment is sinking in. We caught that one live on air. And he's going to be taking a premature trip into the pit lane, which, by the way, they will have to make. These inters, while they are fairly durable, pretty hard compound of rubber, they aren't invincible, and they will eventually drop off. I'm expecting the drivers to do half and half. You'd think they'd be able to go half and half, but maybe it is going to turn itself into a 2-stop, whereby they stop on lap 12 and again on lap 24. I don't know. We'll have to find out, and maybe that is a little bit of intrigue that can happen when it comes to the strategy. Onto the slicks, that's a mistake. Oh my goodness me. We've had a repeat of Spa. Those are slicks on a very, very wet circuit. However, maybe the insanity is not so insane. The rain, I think, has stopped. So maybe it's just a bit of an early call to get onto the slick tyres. But of course, as I'm sure you all saw on the APC socials over the last couple of weeks, of course, make sure you go follow them on Instagram, X, or Twitter. It's Twitter. You can stay up to date. The highlights, the clips, the standings, everything gets posted over there. And there we go. I think that is telling of changeable conditions. 123.19, again beaten by 120.0. So track firmly improving then, getting drier. Maybe not going to be too long until we see these drivers in for slicks. I think Jordi Lansing has just pressed the button, is going to be coming in. And there we go, a set of slicks. I apologise to Carl Stuart Woodard. It wasn't necessarily the worst idea. I thought we were going to have a repeat of are those slicks? They can't be slicks. Moment of last week, and there we go, DRS enabled. That is the telltale sign that the crossover point is right now, and Inters versus SOS aren't going to be too different. Jordi Lansing, Lewis Smith maybe have timed this to perfection. As Drew Smith, wow. Drew Bliss. Sorry, goodness me. Last week it was calling the Woodards Woodwards. This week I'm calling Drew Smith. I've just done it again. 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane for Connor Stuart Woodard. That is heartbreaking. And the last couple of laps have been rough to the Woodard family. Onto the hards. That is a interesting call when the track is still really cold. But look at how quickly it's dried up. Not completely dry, of course, but from nearly torrential rain that we saw a couple of laps ago to a near dry track has been really, really quick. as Drew gets himself a 5-second penalty, and that was his gap to Ethan Shackleton. What did I say about hubris? What did I say about false senses of security? Drew Bliss may have just thrown away his chances of a race victory. He hasn't served it this pit stop, but he will still have that looming over his head. We have got 23 laps of this race left to go. We have got intrigue in the pit lane with strategy all around, and maybe Drew Bliss throwing away a golden opportunity to go and win this one. However, he has exited the pit lane 5 seconds clear of Ethan Shackleton. It's going to be remarkably close, and he has to make the most of those medium compound tyres. Jordi Lansing, Lewis Smith rejoined the race about 6.5 seconds back of Ethan Shackleton and Drew Bliss respectively. And there you can see, that is the telltale sign again, another telltale sign, a 17-0 coming in from Carl Stewart-Woodard. But wow, goodness, wow. Sorry, I sound like Owen Wilson. I'm doing my best. Wow. Maybe it's the Lightning McQueen tattoo that I got the other week. That's channeling my Owen Wilson. Maybe that's what the wows are for. The intrigue is there. So what is this going to mean then for the rest of this race? Connor Stewart is out, and boom, safety car. Has he binned it on purpose? Is my question. He got himself a 3-second time penalty and has lost it at turn 3. But a safety car is out. Most of the field have already made their stop. So in hindsight, it would have actually probably been more beneficial to stay out on Inters for an extra lap. Of course, you can't know that there's going to be a safety car. Jordi Lansing comes in for off the softs. Maybe onto another set of maybe some more longevity. Yeah, onto the mediums, maybe to the end. Which are light fuel loads. But in hindsight, if you'd have stayed out on Inters and then the safety car come out because Wood had put it in the wall, you'd have come in and retained the lead. But of course, you can't predict that. You have to stay as the track as it is. You know, like that Canada 2011 situation with Jenson Button taking the win, making 6 pit stops. When there is changeable conditions, you have to play the track as it is right now. You can't predict what the track's going to be in 5-10 laps time. You have to deal with it right now. If it's wet tyres now, you go on to wet tyres. If it's going to be slicks in 5 minutes, then you go on slicks in 5 minutes. You play with what you've been dealt right now in the present. Yeah, maybe 1 out of 10 times you get it right and look like an absolute hero. But on the other 9 out of 10 times, you play it safe and you bag secure, decent points rather than taking that risk. And I get it if you want to take a risk. Say if you're a driver that's not, you know, usually competing at the front and you've got an opportunity to take a risk and maybe it works, and if it doesn't then you've not lost anything anyway, then absolutely. But if you're a driver like Drew Bliss or of course Lewis Smith, Tyus Mosberg and Ethan Shackleton, those drivers that are going to be driving for the championship, then sometimes you do have to just play it a little safe. They are picked up by Bird Mylander in the Aston Martin safety car, with Aston Martin 1-2 as things stand, technically, with Drew Bliss, of course, at the wheel of the Cognizant Aston Martin Formula 1 team, or is it the Aramco Aston Martin Formula 1 team, or is it the Cogs in it? I don't know. What was their title sponsor? I think it's Aramco, isn't it? Or is it? I know my stuff. It's like that that video with Max Fosh, isn't it? With where he tries to guess what flavour the girl's drink is. And he goes, is it, I think he says, is it cranberry? And she goes, no, it's not. Give it another go. And he says, it's grapefruit. And then says, of course, the iconic, I don't know my fruits. Apologies, that is just where my mind went, essentially, immediately to when it comes with I don't know my stuff. I'm sure that will probably relate to someone somewhere, hopefully, I hope. Please make me not seem like I'm going insane. I might just be chronically online with TikTok and Vines and things, but Max Fosh is an absolute legend. He was the one, by the way, a couple of years ago that tricked the country into thinking that anyone landing into Gatwick was actually landing into Luton Airport, which was pretty cool, actually, with some tarp that he laid down out the window that you looked out and it said "Welcome to Luton" in big letters. Anyone that was arriving at Gatwick was incredibly confused. I think he made like national news or something. It was remarkable. But anyway, again, we digress. We're back onto the racing, and the safety car, good timing. It's like I know what I'm doing. Is in this lap. Drew Bliss will then, of course, assume the role of effective safety car, controlling the pace on those mediums, he has to get 5-second gap. And the thing is, everyone's bunched themselves up again, so a lot more people are within that 5-second range. It's not just Ethan Shackleton he has to be scared of. He needs to be driving the wheels off those mediums over the next however long his stint is going to be to build out that 5-second gap, to hope that he can hang on to this race lead, because he has been faultless up until that transition into the pit lane. But one small mistake can unfortunately catalyse a disastrous set of consequences. Lap 16 of 36 about to begin. The final 20 laps of this race are underway. Drublis leads us off. Side by side in the background, Andrea Chenkovan also ties Mosbergen side by side going into turn 1. There's, of course, Oliver Milner going around the outside of Jordi Lansing, the home hero, down to P6. Nigel Donati, better known, of course, as I say, of Oliver Milner. He's up in a 5th place in the Mercedes. Jordi Lansing looks to the inside of turn 4, but that's not going to work. The outside line will always prevail through that corner. Able to hang on then is Oliver Milner, side by side momentarily with Chenkovan versus Mosbergen, but not quite close enough there. You've got Shackleton trying to settle himself in a P2. They cannot let Drew Bliss get away. This is effectively a free race win for Shackleton. However, he has got to be mindful. Those hards will be able to get him to the end of the race. I think maybe just able to get him to the end. And quarter of a second between Jordi Lansing, a little bit wide there. You can see he's definitely been on the gravel trap somewhere. That's going to promote Lewis Smith nicely into 6th place as he tries to pursue forwards on medium compound tyres. Jordi Lansing going to try and contend, but the championship leader under pressure as he looks to go to the outside of turn 1. But again, no agility, no legs around the outside, and unable to find his way back through. Chenkovan on the back of Thijs Mosbergen trying to rob the Flying Dutchman a podium on home soil, but getting caught in the wake. Actually, a lot of understeer for the Ferrari. The traction control you can hear kicking in on the exit of turn 10. Basically drawing back power as to not overspin the wheels. Of course, determined by wheel speed sensors, same system that the ABS would run off if F1 cars had them. All done by wheel speed sensors. Essentially, as soon as the wheel starts spinning more than the rest of them do, then the car knows that it's lost traction and then can back off the throttle a little bit just to reduce power to that wheel, bring it back to a normal rhythm and get going again. Same too goes for a lock. However, here goes the fight for the lead. Ethan Shackleton on the inside of Drew Bliss. He's going for the move on the inside. The Aston Martin trying to dance his way the long way around at turn 1. Nicely done. DRS is enabled on this lap as well, and that could allow Ethan Shackleton a second chance. Thijs Mosbergen just about able to hang on ahead of Andrea Chenkovan. The 2 Mercedes of Lewis Smith and Oliver Milner as well fight for 5th. It all kicks off. You wait long enough for one bus, 2 come at once. Shackleton, though, is doing a brilliant job of applying the pressure to Drew Bliss, not allowing him any margin of error, preventing him from running away. Jordi Lansing on the back of Milner still, so a train from 3rd all the way down to 7th. And this is what we mean. It's not the biggest grid in the world, don't get me wrong, not even half of a full grid. But the racing has been phenomenal. So if you want to get yourself involved in this, please do. We would love to see what you're able to do. We'd love to see what competition you can get to. I think all assists, bar sort of a couple like race lines, restricted corners only, pit assist, DRS assist, things like that. Marginal stuff, really, really small stuff. Anyone, it's so accessible, can get in and contend. Inside line for Ethan Shackleton as we get a lovely view of them drag racing down the pit straight in towards turn 1. Once again, Ethan Shackleton with a better run. However, the Aston Martin on better gripped tyres, not quite able to go all the way around the outside. He's going to contend once again into turn 4. Very late on the brakes, tries to use the banking, but the rotation mid-corner isn't there. Fight for the lead then is dissipating as Ethan Shackleton is through and gaining a good 15 points on Lewis Smith as things stand. Drew Bliss looking to the outside. There's contact momentarily. Very, very close between the pair of them. Not disastrous, no damage involved, but allow Shackleton to stay ahead of the man P2 in the championship. When things die down, of course, we'll take another look for those that are only now just joining us. Just trying to check in with both YouTube channels, just make sure that it is all good on both YouTube and Twitch, which, by the way, you should subscribe and follow to everyone involved. Both APC League on Twitch and JPBroadcasting here on YouTube. Lap 20 of 36 about to begin then. Over half of the way through as the laps will tick down quicker and quicker now we're into the dry running. Side by side here. The Mercedes of Lewis Smith looking to the outside of Mosberg, and he gets a huge snap of oversteer on the exit of turn 1, and that promotes the Mercedes through. This time it's a Red Bull sandwich with Mercedes bread as opposed to the Ferrari. Another twitch, and boom, Oliver Milner capitalizes, puts his foot down and puts his way up at a P5. Mercedes are on a charge from the back row of the grid on P8 and P9. Of course, row 4 and row 5. They're up now into 4th and 5th. The poeticness in that, the poetry in that. They've gone from 4th and 5th row on the grid to P4 and P5 in this race with still 16 laps to go and still plenty of progress, I'm sure, to be made from both of them, as they are very, very competent, very, very strong drivers looking to maximise their result in the Constructors' Championship. As things stand, though, Ferrari will be going for 40 points from this race, plus one more, of course, if Ethan Shackleton gets past the lap point. You can hear the V6 turbo hybrid engines. There's a dart to the inside. Jordi Lansing on the inside of his teammate of Thijs Mosbergen. How hotly contested is that going to be? And not very. Mosbergen had the right of way earlier, and this time it's Jordi Lansing's turn to get after the rest of the pack for 5th. And 4th maybe is going to be their ceiling. Who knows, with Andrea Chenkovan just suspended 2 seconds ahead. And 2 seconds behind. Two Red Bulls just tripping up over each other more than anything this race. Both of them had a decent qualifying session, both inside the top 5, but unfortunately have fallen back ever since the race started to dry up. Maybe focused too heavily on a wet setup and are therefore too draggy to contend on the straights or whatever it is. They seem to have the big corner speed, but nothing on the exit of corners. There's a swap again between the pair of them. Mosbergen back through. But, yeah, I'm not sure he's into the barrier. Oh, my goodness me. Thijs Mosbergen is backwards, and that has brought out a full course yellow. I think it's a VSC. That will neutralise the race action, as he has lost his front wing. VSC is out then, race neutralised. Everyone has to abide by a delta time. Mosbergen has retired from his home race. How heartbreaking is that? Is this going to be promoted to a safety car? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think it will just be good to keep it as VSC. Mosbergen is clear. So now, of course, Ethan Shackleton will be trying to keep his tyres in check. We'll be trying to keep Drew Bliss behind by the time they go green once again. They've got a nice gap back to Andrea Chenkovan, who's chilling, but once again on course for another podium in the APC. That consistency is one that will win him championship, maybe not this season, but next season definitely. Drew Bliss into the pit lane to serve his 5-second time penalty. He's hoping that if he's able to serve it, which I'm not sure you can. Oh, perfect. He's timed it great. There we go. You can serve it onto another set of mediums. Green flag running once again as he goes for another set of medium tyres, presumably to the end of this race. Same two for Oliver Milner. Ethan Shackleton and Andrea Chenkovan making a Ferrari 1-2 Here's Carl Stewart-Woodard, a resurgence after not being without a front, well, being without a front wing a couple of laps ago, to now fighting Jordi Lansing, a home hero for P4. Remarkable comeback, showcasing that you should not give up. Even when it looks hopeless, you do not give up. He brought out the first safety car and is now fighting, I say towards the front, it's actually for the midfield technically. Hopefully there'll be a couple of drivers that we can have a word to after the race concludes. And there we go. Carl Stewart-Woodard on the inside of Jordi Lansing, or on the outside of Jordi Lansing, I should say, at the Red Bull, trying to fend him off, but the traction goes the way of Woodard, at least momentarily, before it doesn't, as he takes it to the gravel trap. So Lansing able to stay ahead on that occasion. So what can Woodard do in order to attack? How can he best set himself up in order to launch an offensive maneuver against Lansing, knowing that the Flying Dutchman is not going to be easy to pass? Where is Drew Bliss? There he is, about 10 seconds back. Are those fresh mediums going to make the difference? Of course, he's without penalties now, so can, in theory, get after the rest of the pack. Hope that Shackleton, Chenkovan, etc. will all need to come in for another pit stop themselves and be promoted up a couple of places. That is the aim, that's the hope. Woodard with the slipstream, with the DRS, no ERS though to bank on. Same too for Lansing, both the rain lights flashing, even though it's firmly sunshine and rainbows here in the Netherlands. That does mean they are low on ERS deployment, that energy recovery system, the motor generator unit harvesting and the deployment, the kinetic energy store. That's of course harvested from the braking powers, turning that kinetic energy of the car into, of course, the heat from the brakes back into electrical energy to be stored in the battery, ready to deploy at the button's notice. Extra 160 brake horsepower or so straight to the rear wheels to propel them down the straights or in acceleration zones, whatever they want to use it for. Drew setting the fastest lap time off the race, by the way, last time by, so showcasing that he has got the speed to get after the rest of the pack. Slipstream. He does look quite close coming off the banking, but the pit straight not overly long here at Zandvoort. And he does look to the inside. Is he going to be brave enough on the brakes? He does give it a look. Lansing is tentative to give him some space, but the Aston Martin gives it a go, keeping the Red Bull on his toes, and is actually going to be significantly alongside come the next point. Goodness me, Lansing around the outside, able to hang on to fourth place. Barely. As Woodard is ramping up the pressure with 10 laps left to go for round 8 of the Almost Pro Championship. Of course, this time by, he's not as lucky is Carl Stewart-Woodard, as Jordi Lansing is able to be, fended off, or able to fend off the attack, I should say. A bit too far back is the Aston Martin on those occasions, and not allowing any space through for the Aston to come back past. And attack, which is really halting his progress, but it is allowing Drew Bliss to close in. Lap by lap, that gap closes. Is it going to be enough time, though, to get after the rest of the field? And how close is it going to be, by the way? Ethan Shackleton running some good pace on the hards. Will he have to come back into the pit lane? Or is he going to be able to tough it out to the end? Oh, Lansing versus Woodard, close to contact. I think there might well have been contact actually through turn 11. The aerial shot, I think we just got the tail end of it, but nonetheless, the Aston Martin is through, and Drew Bliss within 1.7 seconds of the back of the Red Bull of Lansing. So, fight for fifth back on. I'm interested in the strategy. Drew, easily to the end of this race. Milner, easily to the end of this race. These mediums runners surely have to be coming in soon. They can't go another 8 laps. Very close for a counter-attack though. Lansing all over the grass, as he's now actually going to try and give it a go into turn 9. I don't think he's going to give this one up without a fight. Not at all. Red Bull sandwich, Aston Martin bread. And now Drew Bliss is on the back of the 2 ahead. 28 of 36, about to start lap 29 actually with Ethan Shackleton about to cross the line. When is he going to be coming into the pit lane? We don't know. There might still be one to be had. Very, very slow off the banking though is the Aston Martin. All of that hard work, I think, for Carl Stewart Woodard is going to be coming undone. Drew Bliss is through as well, late on the brakes. Goodness me, what a launch. What a dive bomb from Drew Bliss. Jordi Lansing almost didn't see it coming and had to immediately dart out the way. That was teetering on the edge of what is allowed and what isn't, but brave nonetheless. Launched one up the inside of turn 1. Luckily, did not end in disaster there. Just about was able to get a stop for the corner. The counter-attack though is on maybe as Lansing thinks about the move to the outside, but my oh my, Drew Bliss taking risks and is about 16, 17 seconds off the race lead of Ethan Shackleton. So a pit stop for the Ferrari would firmly see Drew Bliss retake the race lead at the top without a penalty this time. And don't forget, he did have to wait an extra 5 seconds. So his pace has been staggeringly quick to bring it back into that window of overtake. Into the pit lane then. Lansing. Of course, Woodard stays out another lap, maybe for an overcut. I'm not sure. Lansing, of course, understandably onto softs for the final 6 laps of this race. Shackleton gonna have to re-enter the pit lane. I think at this point, surely you just tough it out. I mean, Drew Bliss is still a decent way off. Maybe it's beneficial just to wait behind. And of course, for Chenkovan to wait behind is Ethan Shackleton. And stay out, work together. Of course, stay out on track. And not have to come back through the pit lane. I mean, pitting now would definitely see them go behind Drew Bliss. Whereas right now, Bliss is the one on the back foot. He has to then go and catch and then overtake. And by the time he does that, those mediums are going to be a little bit worse for wear. Granted, maybe the hards are too. but it puts Ethan Shackleton and Andrea Chenkovan in the driving seat, where sort of to go and defend. Same too with Lewis Smith. Maybe he's going to stay out all the way to the end. It's worth a risk potentially. Whereas if they were to come in now, they would almost undoubtedly hand over the lead back to Drew Bliss, and then they'd be the ones that need to catch. And with not very long left to go in the race either, they'd have to make up the deficit, sort out any squabbles they'd have amongst themselves, and then go and race with Drew Bliss. Oh, that's not a problem at all. He is out of this race. Goodness me, a late safety car because one of the race leading contenders has dropped it on the exit of turn 13. Car number 13 through turn 13. You couldn't write this stuff. Drew Bliss out of this race as Lewis Smith gets himself a speeding penalty for immediately reacting to the safety car. Shackleton and Chenkovan stay out. Surely they have to come into the pit lane. Lewis Smith has just completely thrown away any chance of a race victory, and it has just thrown everything back up in the air for this race. I thought it was done and dusted. But no, Drew Bliss dropped it on the exit and is out. And it happens just like that. Snap of your fingers, blink of an eye, all of that hard work is done. It's gone. Purely because you've made one small yet critical error. Going back to what I was saying earlier, a small mistake that leads into catastrophic consequences. So now, who's going to win this race then, ladies and gentlemen? Let me know. Because I don't. I genuinely don't know. I think Chenkovan is going to leave a nice big gap as to allow Ethan Shackleton to have an easy pit stop. Of course, Ferrari will have to double stack. Oh, it's going to be close. He is going to have to wait. Hopefully not for long. A couple of seconds. Yeah. Could have been timed better. Onto the softs, of course. Of course, he's going onto the softs. Chenkovan is in. There goes Carl Stuart-Woodard as well. Finally off those mediums. That will actually seem like a heavy really lands it. Of course, serving his penalty, which I didn't actually know you could do under safety car. Maybe it's just drive-throughs. I think it is just drive-throughs you can't serve under safety car. But maybe you can serve stop and holds. But yeah, Lewis Smith then in and out, fresh set of softs, 4th place to the end of this race. We've got Ethan Shackleton, Andrea Chenkovan, Carl Stuart-Woodard, Lewis Smith, all of them wanting some points in the championship. Just a quick reminder of how things are racking up. Lewis Smith, speedy dude in P4. Ethan Shackleton, current race leader. Carl Stuart-Woodard there, only 11 points back. He is in 3rd place. Andrea Chenkovan a little bit off the back, granted in P9, but points there to be had as well. And of course, don't forget, the teams, Aston Martin, have only now got one driver fielding, whereas Ferrari, only 20 points back, are 1 and 2 in this race with a fresh set of softs. Could they be the ones to take the helm? As things stand, they would be taking 43 points to the 15 that Carl Stuart-Woodard will be taking, which would see them ahead in the championship. So just like that, one small error has cascaded itself into this huge chain of events, not only for the drivers, but for the team's championship. On a small scale, it's the next 3 laps of the 8th round of the championship. On the large scale, it could be the difference between winning and losing the championship. And it doesn't take much. It really does not take much. The smallest of things can have the biggest of consequences. To see what's going to transpire in the rest. I'm just going to check in with the YouTube chat, see if anyone's been interacting over there. They haven't, so what are you playing at, guys? Get it sorted out. Come and have a chat with me. I don't bite, at least I hope not. Sorry, I have just clicked on it again. I have to remember that I can only scroll on my other tabs. I can't click anything as to not pause the game. Apologies, because yeah, that's a skill issue on my part. For whatever reason, you can't click onto another tab whilst the game is running, because that's a cardinal sin and it will pause it if not. I've got me and Nightbot keeping each other company. Although as much as I do love AI, and I always say please and thank you to Siri, doesn't quite replace the conversation of a human being that's talking on the chat. Even though I can't see them and we're not talking, we're typing. Well, I'm talking to you. You guys can type back to me. It would be nice to see some chat engagement. So if you're a friend, a family member of one of the drivers, let me know who you're supporting, who you're cheering on for. Doesn't necessarily have to be the person you're related to, by the way. It can be whoever you like. And let me know what you think is going to be happening over the course of the final 2 laps of the Dutch Grand Prix. Ethan Shackleton, Andrea Chenkovan, P1 and P2, Kyle Stewart-Woodard and Lewis Smith, with Jordi Lansing rounding off the top 5, Oliver Milner the top 6. They are all bunched together. 2 laps of racing to decide the 8th round of Season 6. Everything has led to this moment. Your positioning throughout the entirety of the race has led to this moment. And what can you do apart from seize the moment and take that opportunity, not waste your chance? You do not throw away your shot. You sit there, you wait for Ethan Shackleton to react, you wait for him to put his foot to the floor and send us back underway. Of course, Kyle Stewart-Woodard is waiting. We get going once more. 2 laps of racing and 3 wide potentially into turn number 1. Jordi Lansing is sending one to the inside. However, Kyle Stewart-Woodard sends the needle through the middle and able to hang on. Huge snap of oversteer from the Red Bull. He is just remarkably able to hang on, but albeit now 2 seconds off the back of the pack. That is a disastrous way to kickstart the final 2-lap sprint of this race. Ferrari get away well. Shackleton ahead of Chenkovan, 3/4 of a second clear of Woodard in P3. Lewis Smith there in 4th as well, through turn number 9. Let's see, not quite. Oh, wow, goodness me, very close. In fact, actually touching the rear end of the Aston Martin of Woodard. But these guys battle for 3rd. Shack attack of course, Ethan Shackleton. Chenkovan will just run away and go. They are already out of DRS range going on to the final lap. I think the fight for the lead is done outside of Ferrari. Through the penultimate corner for the penultimate time. 1.1 between Woodard and the 2 leaders. Of course, Lewis Smith wants every point in impossibility. Final lap then. Chenkovan on the back of his teammate. However, they have a golden opportunity to take the lead in the Constructors' Championship if things were to stay as they are. They want this 1-2, and they need it to showcase their strength. Ethan Shackleton, of course, with how strong he is, Season 4 champion. Double run of championships as well, to my understanding. Lewis Smith on the back of Woodard, not into turn 10, but opportunities are wearing thin, lap by lap. Corner by corner, it has led to this moment, and the opportunities, each corner ticked off is one less opportunity, and now Ethan Shackleton only has 2 more to contend with Lansing. Goodness me, the potential was there for greatness, but unfortunately the 2 Red Bull drivers haven't been able to put up with the pressure. One man that has, though, is this man right here. Ethan Shackleton, race 8 of the Almost Pro Championship with a fastest lap at the end as well, takes victory in Zandvoort ahead of his teammate, a Ferrari 1-2 of Andrea Chenkovan. Kyle Stewart-Woodard able to hang on for P3, with championship leader losing ground in the title hunt there in 4th place, albeit a remarkable recovery from P8 on the grid, ahead of his teammate as well, Oliver Milner, I should say, Nigel Nutty, as he's known on the game. There in 5th, rounding off the top 5 with Jordi Lansing unfortunately completing the top 6 on home soil. Not the result that they would have wanted by any stretch of the imagination. Hopefully we will have a quick chat with people in the Discord. If they would so please get themselves involved as such. We'll of course run you through the final finishing order in just a second, so that we can see what The results were, there are the Ferrari drivers taken to the top step after 50 minutes of racing. Ethan Shackleton ahead of Andrea Chenkovan. Carl Stewart-Woodard, the top 3, with championship leader Lewis Smith in 4th. His teammate Oliver Milner there rounds off the top 5 ahead of Jordi Lansing. Drew Bliss was the catalyst to a very chaotic final couple of laps ahead of Thijs Moosbergen and Connor Stewart-Woodard, the first retiree of this race. Ladies and gentlemen, let's head away over to this window. Let's head away into the interview room of sorts that we've got going on here. I'll just close down my game, whack up Discord and see if there is anyone that wants to come and have a bit of a chat with me, of course. As we run away, we'll drag in Carl Stewart-Woodard, of course. First and foremost, hello, Kyle. I mean, for you, that was a very chaotic race. It was a very long one, of course, with the rain at the start. I mean, I suppose let's just start right from the beginning. Tell your story as the race developed.
Oh, I tell you what, I just couldn't get to grips with it for some reason. I did not practice for the rain. I did put a wet setup on this time, but I just couldn't get to grips with it for so many laps. It was a little bit frustrating, but I just kept my head in it. I just drove my heart out and just hoped for the best. And then my teammate gifted me a late safety car, which put me in the perfect position. But holding back the championship leader for 2 laps, that is not easy, let me tell you. My adrenaline is still going. You might barely hear it in my voice still. My adrenaline is still pumping.
Little bit shaky, understandably so. It was a very, very hard fight between yourself and Lewis Smith, but a remarkable one at that. A very crucial race when it comes to the championship. Do you ever think that there was a chance for you to go and win, or was your fate sealed right at the start of that safety car period? Because, of course, I mean, once Shackleton and Chenkovan were able to get away, were you just holding on for third?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for second on that safety car restart. I hope I could jump Chenky, but yeah, when it didn't happen, I just figured I had to hold on to third place. That's, podiums, they can come quite rarely these days. So especially in this championship, we've got a lot of fast drivers. So I just held on to that podium, hope for the best. I mean, my qualifying of going out late when it was raining was a bad decision, put me quite far back. Yeah, no, I'm quite happy with that, getting that podium with all those fast guys around me. I'm very pleased with that. I think with my teammate crashing out as well, it's not great for the team championship, but as long as I can keep building points in the drivers, yeah, it makes me happy.
Does indeed. And well, tell us actually, because we did have changeable conditions both in qualifying and into the race. What setup did you decide on then? Was it a dry one, a wet one, a combination of the two?
So yeah, it's a bit of a combination. I decided just to add more rear wing, so my setup here was quite front heavy. It really gets you in those corners quite aggressively. Because it's quite high speed, it holds on quite well. But I decided to add more rear wing, make it a bit more stable, so that I wasn't losing the back end too much in the wet conditions. And because it was quite a mixed setup when it dried out, even though it wasn't quite to my liking, it was still very much drivable. And I think that's probably what helped me get the podium today.
Consistency overall. Well, thank you very much. Of course, we've got, in a week's time, we head to Singapore. How are you feeling? I mean, very tight, very twisty circuit under the lights.
I tend to go well on the street circuits. I don't know why. They tend to be good. I mean, I don't want to jinx it now. Now I'm saying it on the broadcast, but yeah, I tend to do. I've done most of my podiums have come from street circuits like Singapore and Azerbaijan. So I feel quite good about it. As we say, we've got a lot of fast drivers here, but I think if I can get another podium, that'd probably be the goal, I think, for Singapore.
Well, fingers crossed. Best of luck to you, of course. Thank you for taking the time to come and chat with us. Congratulations on a fantastic result here today. And, well, I'm sure we'll see you back in a week's time, hopefully, on to the top 3 steps.
Indeed. Well, thanks very much, Zach. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Well, Carl Stewart-Woodard then coming in to have a chat with us after a remarkable result in Zandvoort. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap it up here today. We have only got the single interview with Stewart-Woodard. I don't know, for whatever reason, the other drivers, they don't want to come and talk to me. That's fine. It's up to them. They're missing out on a great chat to provide some insight to you guys at home. But drivers, if you are watching along at home and you would like to jump in for an interview after the race, feel free. The Discord is there on the APC League. Get yourself into the waiting room. We'll drag you in. We'll have a chat. But for those of you watching along at home, my name has been Zach Sweeney. You've been watching along live on the JPBroadcasting YouTube channel or on the APC League Twitch. This was Race 8 Season 6. as we took to Zandvoort. As I said, in a week's time, we'll head to Singapore, where the championship is yet to be decided, with still another 6 races to go in this fantastic championship. It is turning up to be a phenomenal one indeed. Take care. We'll see you next time. It's goodbye for now.
Jungle.